So today I'm prepping tomatoes to make quote-unquote sun-dried tomatoes. Now, they aren't actually sun-dried because I'm doing them in my Excalibur dehydrator, but they're very much the same thing. A nice sliced dried tomato is what I'll have when I'm done. Now those can be used in all sorts of things. Pizzas, you can soak them in olive oil and garlic and some herbs and do them on bruschetta, all sorts of ways to use this. The possibilities are really endless. You can rehydrate them, make a sauce, many ways to use them. So drying tomatoes, very easy. I'm doing this actually well into the end of the season. I'm actually in November when I'm doing this. These were the last of a local grower's tomatoes. And I actually bought some of these green and then left them in a cool mud room, and they ripened over a couple of weeks, and now I've got nice red ripe firm tomatoes that I'm dehydrating. I've already done all my sauce, but I'd really like to have some dried tomatoes on hand. I make a lot of chili, soups, stews, and they go in all of it. So very easy to do. I've trimmed out the core and the blossom end, and then I'm slicing them about 1/4 inch thick, trying to keep all my slices about the same thickness. Of course, you're hand cutting, so you're going to have a little bit of variation. And then they're going on the trays, just lining this whole tray with the tomatoes. Now, sometimes your end pieces or whatever, they may be a little thin, they may be a little thick. If they're a little thinner, I like to try and put them in the middle because the middle tends to take the longest to dry. The thicker pieces I like to put on the edges because the edges are a little closer to the heat and the air movement, so they tend to dry out a little faster. Don't necessarily have to do that, but if you have a judgment call to make, that's a good way to do it. So once this tray is full, this and as many others as I can get, they'll go into the dehydrator. If I don't have a full dehydrator, I will stack them about every other rung. That way there's a little more air movement in between them. But if I do have enough for all 9 trays, then that's awesome, and they'll all go in there too. I also have some peppers from a local grower from the end of the season. Had more than I needed for my sauce. So these I'm actually going to dice up, and I expect I'll have room for a couple extra trays that are not tomatoes. I'm going to throw them in. They all dehydrated about the same time and temp. I'll just keep an eye. Check them, if one finishes faster than the others, I'll pull those out, let the rest of them finish. When this is loaded, these will go in the dehydrator at 145, and kind of depends on your tomatoes, how long that takes. I would plan on 8 hours anyway, but I really start checking them at 6, and I actually start turning the trays after about 3 or 4. So if the tray is in this way, I might turn it a full rotation. And then after, a few more hours, I might turn it just a quarter turn. That way it just, everything, you'll have hot and warm spots. Sometimes I rotate the trays up and down as well. This is kind of all stuff you can figure out as you go and as you get familiar with your own dehydrator. But that just gives everything its own turn in the warmer spots of it, evens out the drying so that you roughly have everything finishing on time. And that's it. That's all there is to making dehydrated tomatoes and also peppers. I hope this helps, and I hope you enjoy your own.